All across our nation, we pause today to honor and remember those who have served our country and defended our freedom. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Devin Dagnall.
And I'm Beth Jones. We start our Veterans Day coverage at the Department of Veterans Affairs Togus campus this morning, where veterans and caregivers were honored for their service and sacrifice. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard starts us off tonight.
Your service and sacrifice delivered all our rights and freedoms, including the right for us to come together on this very special day.
Tracy Davis is the Medical Center Director for the Department of Veterans Affairs in Maine. Every year they hold a ceremony to mark Veterans Day and honor those who served.
It's an opportunity for us to come together as VA employees, our VA patients, our VA community, but also the general community as well, to all pay tribute to the services and sacrifices that veterans have made for our country.
An honor guard from Kennebec County veterans presented the colors, and those in attendance heard from Davis and Maine's congressional delegation, including Senator Angus King, who says, despite a hyper-partisan climate in D.C., veterans issues always have and always should be something that unites us.
We've got a lot of work left to do. We've still got homeless veterans in Maine. I visited with some folks just 2 weeks ago, 135 or perhaps somewhat more homeless veterans. We should abolish the term homeless veterans. It shouldn't exist. And we've got medical care needs that are still facing us. We have long-term care needs, one of the most serious needs for our veterans as they age.
Another aspect of the ceremony was honoring family caregivers of veterans whose work is so important for the quality of life of their loved ones. One special caregiver, Tammy Dempsey, received a challenge coin for her work providing care for her husband.
I think honoring Tammy was incredibly important for me personally. She is married to a Marine veteran who made incredible sacrifices for our country, but she also made tremendous sacrifices as a caregiver. And sometimes people don't always see that or recognize it. And I felt it was important to recognize all of what she has done here on Veterans Day.
In Augusta, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Governor Mills recognized Veterans Day by releasing the following statement, quote, Maine veterans teach us, all of us, to cherish our rights and to remember those who gave their lives for these freedoms. They teach us to remember that our sons and daughters today stand ready to defend those very rights in postings across the globe. They teach us the strong sense of responsibility that comes from hard work and hard times. They teach us honor, dignity, and service. This Veterans Day, I encourage all Maine people to thank a service member and to honor the rights and freedoms those service members have fought for.
Well, on the coast, Belfast's Veterans Day celebrations honored our troops while inspiring younger generations. Our Callie Warren with that story.
Even though we've hung up our uniforms, we're still serving. We're still serving our communities. We're still serving the people of our town.
The people of Belfast gathered to recognize veterans on Monday.
Veterans Day in Belfast is a day where we honor all veterans.
Watching the parade processions from the waterfront and pausing to honor veterans living and dead.
The true cost of that freedom is a price most can't even fathom.
For Belfast's VFW,
We're fortunate enough to do the VFW SA Awards.
an integral part of the day is uplifting Waldo County's youth.
And just having kids share their opinion. Some of the greatest ideas are born from kids in middle school and high schools.
Even if you might not be the best writer, you have good judgment and good opinions. Everyone wants to hear your voice.
I worked for something and I finally got what I worked for. So if you really want to do something, then make sure you do it and work hard for it.
After the public Veterans Day events officially ended, vets gathered at Belfast's American Legion to raise a toast to fallen heroes and celebrate the monumental day with their community.
People can choose to have the day off because we live in a free country. They can come to a parade, they can support veterans, but more importantly, us veterans can get together and support those who didn't come back.
In Belfast,
Happy Veterans Day from Belfast!
Callie Warren, ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Hundreds lined the streets of Brewer and Bangor today for the return of the annual Veterans Day Parade. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
Happy Veterans Day! The sounds of marching, music, and cheers rang through the area as veterans and parade participants marched from Brewer to Bangor once again this Veterans Day.
It's really cool to see how everyone comes out and supports everyone.
Mainers of all ages came out to celebrate and honor those who served.
Both of my boys have, one is serving in the Air Force, one was served in the Marines, and bringing my granddaughter to see the parade and support the veterans.
Some veterans have been walking in this parade for as long as they can remember.
Every one of them. Yeah, I don't think I've missed a parade since I started working for Coles Museum. We like to be recognized. If we don't get recognized, we're going to be forgotten.
For many who served, today is often a day of reflection.
Today I'm thinking about some of my friends I was with and some of my friends that didn't make it home. So today is a day of remembrance for some of them.
For others, it's a chance to give thanks.
I really like our community in Bangor, and I'm grateful for living here.
I'm really grateful that they keep our little town safe and that we're all able to be here and safe.
In Brewer and Bangor, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, over in Ellsworth, members of the Ellsworth Elks Lodge spent the day cooking and serving free meals for veterans. The lodge offered breakfast, lunch, and dinner for anyone who served in the armed forces and their families. Donations were also accepted. Any proceeds gathered will be shared with veterans in the Ellsworth area.
I've been there before, veteran in need, and we're going to be there for everybody that we can. We do the best we can. Yeah, absolutely.
In addition to the meals, the Elks Lodge also held a heating fuel raffle.
Flags were flying in Herman as motorists made their way to work on Monday morning. A handful of Herman residents met on the I-95 overpass on the Newburgh Road to proudly wave the American and state of Maine flags on Veterans Day. A flag wave like this one is held in different locations in Herman throughout the year by different groups of people. The folks we spoke with did not let the rain dampen their desire to celebrate living in the land of the free.
This is the second time we've done it. We did it the day after the election, and we're doing it today to honor our heroes. And numerous people are honking their horns. It's fabulous.
Well, Danielle Haggerty says the group wanted to do the flag wave early in the morning so they could be seen by those heading into work or over to the Bangor Brewer Veterans Day Parade.
Well, one local veteran is hoping you can make his birthday wish come true. Ed Hendrickson of Brewer will turn 104 years old this week, and in honor of that milestone, he's asking for donations to the Bangor Humane Society. As Jody Hersey tells us, his birthday fundraiser was inspired by a special pair of brothers who volunteer in the Bangor community.
How are you doing? Good. How are you doing? Good. World War II veteran Ed Hendrickson and 11-year-old twin brothers Don and Frankie Venziano have participated in the Bangor Brewer 4th of July and Veterans Day parades for the past few years. Their connection has actually grown into a sweet friendship. In fact, Hendrickson says it was the brothers and their volunteer work at Coles Museum and the Bangor Humane Society that inspired him to create an online fundraiser to benefit the Humane Society for his upcoming 104th birthday.
I love kids, and your two children I happen to be fond of because they were in the same parade that I was.
My sons say it's actually Hendrickson who is the true inspiration.
I think we should be more inspired by him than he should be inspired by us.
When Hendrickson turned 103 last year, he received more than 6,000 birthday cards. This year, instead of cards, he would like to see people donate a few dollars to his Ed for Pets fundraiser by his birthday on Thursday, November 14th.
It would be nice if we could reach $5,000 at least.
Over $2,000 has been raised so far. Catherine Ravenscraft says the Bangor Humane Society and nonprofits everywhere benefit from the generosity of people like Ed Hendrickson.
The idea is just to raise as much money as possible
in tribute to Ed for making it to 104 and for serving his country so selflessly.
Those who would like to contribute can find the link for Ed's fundraiser on the Bangor Humane Society's Facebook page. In Bangor, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, let's hope his fundraiser reaches its goal and exceeds it as well.
Absolutely. Still a few more days, November 14th. So,
right.
Time to donate if you can.
Yeah, there is time for sure. Alrighty, folks, let's go ahead and take a first look at our forecast.
Thank you, Beth. Our first weather tonight is brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center. Old Town Redemption offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. All right, taking a look out at the radar and satellite, we can see we do have some weather on the way. This is going to be some rain that's going to be moving in tonight, especially into our area. And behind that, there is some snow that'll be coming into the state as well, but looks like temperatures in our area might be a little bit too warm to see any snow accumulate on the ground because our highs today were in the 60s. We saw 63 degrees for a high today. Very, very warm, well above average temperatures. We can see that all throughout the south into the southwestern portion of the state. Wickaset almost to 70 degrees. They saw 67 for their high today. Cooler temperatures in the upper 40s were up north. As we take a look overnight tonight, we're going to have some rain showing up late, right around 3 a.m. and temperatures are going to stay right around the low 40s.
All right, so a soggy morning, and there's a lot of, leaves on the ground and such, so you want to be careful because that can make roads a little slick to drive on.
Yeah.
All right, well, still to come on Fox 22 News at 10. The sewage line in Winslow that ruptured last month has caused 150,000 gallons of raw sewage to leak into the Kennebec.
And a date has been selected for Maine's 2nd Congressional District to resume by ranked choice voting. Those stories and more when we return.
Comfy, cozy, relaxing. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find rockers, recliners, sofas, and easy chairs. Quality furniture, affordable prices. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
At Spectrum, we believe every day unlocks unlimited possibilities to bring you closer to the people and places you love. Spectrum transforms your gaming experience into a galaxy of adventures. And with the fastest, most reliable internet, you're always front row to the entertainment you love, no matter where you are. Get Spectrum Internet Premier for $30 per month when bundled plus a 3-year price guarantee. Call 1-833-440-0029. Spectrum Internet puts streaming live TV, sports, and popular apps all at your fingertips.
Need your car fixed? You got somebody. Need your roof repaired? You got somebody. Need electrical work? Here's your somebody. The team at Ideal Energy Solutions is ready to tackle anything electrical in your home. From upgrading your service to handle today's appliances and heat pumps to whole house wiring, Ideal Energy Solutions is your somebody. Contractors for residential and commercial work. Don't settle for less than ideal. Go with Ideal Energy Solutions. Call today.
Protect your vehicle from rusting away with Bell's Automotive Protection. We are the leader in mobile undercoating and rust proofing in Maine. We'll travel right to your driveway using the best and safest products on the market. This is much safer than rubberized coatings that can cause damage later on. We spray all types of vehicles, including commercial fleets. We all know vehicles aren't cheap anymore. Don't let the harsh winter chemicals eat them away. Call us or visit our page for a free quote. 207-659-3805.
He's a sociopath.
How exactly do you know this?
I diagnosed him.
Dispatch, officer down. Repeat, officer down.
Durable, sturdy, stylish. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find solid wood, built to last, made in Maine dressers, bureaus, and nightstands. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Hello, everyone. I'm Craig Colson. All eyes will be on Augusta Tuesday as a ranked choice voting tabulation gets underway for Maine's 2nd Congressional District. It's a race that could impact the balance of power in Washington. We'll have all the latest on the next Good Morning Maine. We hope you'll join us then.
Well, ranked choice voting tabulation in the race for Maine's 2nd Congressional District is scheduled to begin tomorrow in Augusta. The Office of the Secretary of State announced last Friday that the election for CD2 would go to a ranked choice vote count. Secretary of State Shenna Bellows said in part, quote, under Maine election law, blanks may well include write-ins for someone other than the 3 official candidates. Given that more than 12,000 voters made a first choice that was not either Congressman Golden or Representative Terrio, it is mathematically possible that the second choices of those voters could change the outcome. For that reason, the law requires that we proceed with ranked choice voting tabulation, end quote. Well, as it stands, Democrat incumbent Jared Golden has a narrow lead of around 700 votes, more than Republican challenger Austin Terrio. The ranked choice voting tabulation is open to the public. The count will begin at 1 p.m. tomorrow in the Florian Room at the Maine Department of Public Safety in Augusta. It will also be live streamed through the Secretary of State's YouTube page.
A sewage line in Winslow is repaired after a rupture late last month dumped nearly 150,000 gallons of raw sewage into the Kennebec River. Brad Rogers looked at how it happened, how long it took to fix the rupture, and why cleaning it up just isn't an option.
All of the untreated sewage from the town of Winslow is pumped across the river to the sewage treatment plant in Waterville. Workers were in the process of laying a new sewage line beneath the river when a barge hit and ruptured the old pipeline, which was still in use. Town leaders say the rupture happened back on October 22nd when pipeline workers were on a barge resting on just 2 feet of water.
The barge accidentally hit one of the pipes. Luckily, it didn't break it in half, because if it had broke completely, there'd have been a lot more down the river.
Winslow's public works director estimates 150,000 gallons of raw sewage spilled into the Kennebec River before divers could repair the damage 30 hours later.
Call in divers and whatever, and they got it fixed.
The deputy commissioner for Maine's Department of Environmental Protection says unfortunately there is no cleanup that is feasible in terms of recovering any sewage that was discharged into the river. Carol Ogle, whose home is on Winslow's sewage system, says a week later she got home from a trip and discovered sewage in her basement.
When I came back, though, I smelled something, and then by the next day, I went down and looked. So I had sewage in my basement.
She still doesn't know if the 2 spills were related. Councilor Dale Macklin says they kept using the ruptured line because about 90% of the sewage still reached the treatment plant. He also says it would have been far worse had they allowed sewage to back up into homes and businesses.
There would have been a lot of backup, or a lot of sewerage in the river, one or the other.
Workers have since finished putting in the new underwater sewage lines.
The new lines are in, finally. It needed to be replaced years ago.
Yeah, so far so good.
So for now, the old pipeline is patched, repaired, and back in use. No word yet on when they plan to switch to the new pipeline.
And that was Brad Rogers reporting. And coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, new plans emerge from President-elect Donald Trump regarding his plans to end the war in Ukraine.
And fighting in southern Lebanon continues to intensify. This comes as Israel's new defense minister declares victory over Hezbollah. Those stories and more as the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22 continues.
You come alive in the dead of winter and start work early on snow days. Because snowed in is not an option. The Kubota Snow lineup of compact tractors, RTVs, and versatile attachments are built to move, plow, blow, and thrive in the winter. So when the snow falls, you could rise to meet it. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $2,600.
In New England, we demand choice. Well, Ford is giving it to you. Choose Ford Explorer, America's all-time best-selling SUV. Or the versatile Ford Escape, available as gas or hybrid models. And check out the bold and stylish Bronco family. Freedom of choice starts at your New England Ford dealers. Now lease a Bronco Sport for $319 a month for 36 months. Or get 1.9% APR for 60 months, plus $1,000 cash on Explorer and Escape.
Have you ever felt like you could disappear?
From the composers of The Greatest Showman,
And no one would hear.
Dear Evan Hansen. Don't miss your chance to see one of the most remarkable shows in musical theater history. The groundbreaking, Tony Award-winning Dear Evan Hansen.
You'll be found.
Fires, floods, burst pipes.
Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
I love that my daughter still needs me, but sometimes I can't help due to burning and stabbing pain in my hands. So I use Nervive.
Nervive's clinical dose of ALA reduces nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days.
Now I can help again. Feel the difference with Nervive.
When life spells heartburn, how do you spell relief? ROLAIDS. Rolaids dual active formula begins to neutralize acid on contact. Rolaids spells relief.
If you've been injured, call Joe. The law offices of Joe Bornstein.
As President-elect Trump prepares for a second term, new details are emerging about his efforts to end the war in Ukraine. It comes as Ukrainian and Russian troops ramp up their drone strikes against each other. Fox's Greg Palcott has more.
Russian forces launching a massive airstrike on southern and eastern Ukraine on Monday, killing multiple people and injuring dozens more. The Washington Post is reporting President-elect Trump recently spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin and urged him not to escalate the war. But Putin's spokesperson denies the call took place. Trump also spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky last week as questions remain about what his second term in office means for the conflict.
If President Putin has a victory in Ukraine, and the other fear is that more further abroad, the Chinese would get the wrong sort of lesson if President Putin is seen to succeed.
Trump has vowed to end the war quickly, but he's criticized the scale of U.S. military support for Ukraine, raising concerns he would abandon Kyiv in its fight. The White House says President Biden will urge Trump not to walk away from Ukraine during a meeting this week.
It should be up to the United States and a coalition of nations that we have built to continue to supply Ukraine with the means to defend itself against brutal Russian aggression.
It comes as both sides ramp up the fighting more than 2 years into the conflict. Over the weekend, Ukrainian and Russian troops fired a record number of drones at one another, including some that targeted Moscow. Most of those were shot down. Ukraine's attack on Moscow was the biggest drone strike on Russia's capital since the beginning of the war. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
Israel's new defense minister said on Sunday that his country has defeated Hezbollah, but the fighting is still intensifying in southern Lebanon. Fox's Trey Yingst has more from Tel Aviv.
The fighting in Lebanon grinds on, but top Israeli officials are suggesting it could come to an end soon. Over the weekend, Israel's new defense minister, Israel Katz, said his country has defeated Hezbollah, naming the elimination of Hassan Nasrallah as the crowning achievement of the war. But at the same time, Israeli airstrikes are ongoing, killing dozens in Lebanon on Sunday. The new Israeli foreign minister says he hopes to be able to announce a ceasefire in the coming weeks.
We are working with the Americans on the issue. There is progress, and we will be ready to be there if we will know that Hezbollah will not be able to arm again.
But Hezbollah says that's news to them. The militant group claims it has not received any formal communications about a pause in the fighting. And on Monday, they fired more than 150 rockets into northern Israel.
We hear a lot of talk, but so far we have not had anything official, and I do not expect that there will be anything concrete soon.
Meanwhile, the Israeli government is preparing for a possible shift in tactics when Donald Trump takes office in January. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hinted Israel and the U.S. might confront Iran more directly, after speaking 3 times with the president-elect in just the past week.
We see eye to eye on the Iranian threat, on all its components, and the danger posed by it.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog is visiting the U.S. this week. He'll meet with President Biden on Tuesday. In Tel Aviv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Well, less than a week after Election Day, President-elect Trump's new cabinet is taking shape. Susie Wiles, a longtime advisor and political consultant, will become the country's first female chief of staff, and other high-profile selections are showing some of the top priorities of this next administration. Fox's Connor Hansen has more.
Voters cited immigration as one of the top issues that convinced them to back Donald Trump. And now he's chosen former acting ICE director Tom Homan to be his border czar.
Public safety threats and national security threats will be the priority because they have to be. They pose the most danger to this country. So we're going to prioritize those groups.
Longtime advisor, speechwriter, and immigration hardliner Stephen Miller has been named a deputy chief of staff. Some Democrats are already digging in their heels for a fight over immigration policies.
Stephen Miller and Tom Homan were the architects of a lot of the first Trump administration horrific immigration policies. And so family separation, mass detentions, those kinds of things is what was promised and by the Trump administration.
A vocal Trump supporter in Congress, New York Representative Elise Stefanik will be the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Stefanik has been a staunch supporter of Israel and has criticized some of the UN's stances on the war in the Middle East. And while others line up for key spots, Trump is calling on the next leader of the Senate to fast-track them.
What we have seen in the last number of administrations, including the former Trump administration, is that we stalled out anytime we were trying to get the appointments done in a timely manner. This is incredibly important.
Monday, former New York Representative Lee Zeldin confirmed that Trump picked him to lead the EPA. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
A jury found an Indiana man guilty of murdering 2 teen girls on a hiking trail more than 7 years ago. The case became known as the Delphi murders, and the longtime suspect is now facing more than a century in prison. Fox's Connor Hansen has more from New York.
We had got answers for our girls.
After years of unanswered questions, the man accused of killing 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German has been found guilty. The bodies of the 2 young girls were discovered in the woods a day after they went missing during a hike. Richard Allen, a local drugstore clerk in the small town of Delphi, Indiana, was arrested in 2022, 5 years after the murders. Prosecutors pointed to several confessions Allen made from behind bars, including in a phone call to his wife.
There's nobody scared here. Until this happened, we have been waiting to take this weight off of us.
There was also a video taken by Libby German just minutes before the murders that prosecutors argued shows Allen, and a bullet found at the scene allegedly matched a gun Allen owned. Defense attorneys argued his confessions were caused by mental issues brought on by years in jail. But the small community of Delphi now has closure after the brutal murders, delays to the trial, and years of true crime coverage.
Peace. Peace. Peace for the families.
Richard Allen will be sentenced on December 20th. He's facing up to 130 years in prison. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Well, still to come on Fox 22 News at 10 ahead of the holiday season. The Loaves and Fishes Food Pantry in Ellsworth is in need of some additional help.
And in sports, for the second straight year, Maine women's soccer has punched their ticket to the Division I NCAA tournament. We'll be right back.
You're the best wrestler on the mat. Just do what you do. No wonder you've been a wreck. His future was on the line.
Accused. All new Tuesday, November 12th on Fox.
Did you know that 50% of the air you breathe in your home is air that comes from Hafford Basement Systems? All things basementy. A wet, damp basement is a real problem. It can damage your valuables, worsen asthma and allergies, and affect indoor air quality. We'll transform your basement into a dry, usable space and improve the health of your entire home. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems for all things basementy.
Does your vehicle need a little more work? Have an odd sound coming from somewhere? Bring it over to Jackson's Automotive in Old Town. We have the best technicians and offer a fair price. We also accept all aftermarket protection plans. Now, if you're unable to drive your vehicle to us, we can help you get it here. Also, if you'd like to protect your vehicle for years to come, we offer Wool Wax undercarriage protection. We're located at 546 Main Street in Old Town. Give us a call at 827-2676.
When outdoors, some people like it hot and some people like it cold. However, when indoors, most people like it comfortably warm. Choose a Boderas boiler from McCusick Petroleum Company to provide you with comfortable and efficient heat. They also offer sales and service on many brands of furnaces, boilers, and water heaters. McCusick Petroleum Company delivers oil and LP gas to homes and businesses throughout the Pequot region. If you'd like more information on pricing or service, call or stop by our office in Dover Foxcroft.
The holidays, and holiday trips, and holiday toys, and holiday bonding. And it all comes together in a Chevrolet.
Find your red tag. Get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 pickups. Plus, get $3,750 total value on this Silverado when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Visit your main Chevy dealers.
A church in Dover Foxcroft is on a mission to reduce its carbon footprint.
Church does evolve. Church is not stuck in one place. Our mindset doesn't stay in the same place because we're always learning and growing.
We'll share the story Tuesday on Fox 22 News at 10.
Oh, here we go, here we go.
Season 12!
She could sing.
The Masked Singer, all new Wednesdays on Fox.
2024 looks like it's going to be the warmest year on record, but world leaders at the UN Climate Change Conference want to talk about President Trump and the war in Gaza. Fox's Alex Hogan has more from London.
We meet at a time of complexity and conflict.
World leaders are meeting in Azerbaijan this week for the annual UN Climate Conference, and it started with a stark new warning. The World Meteorological Organization says 2024 is on track to be the hottest year on record, with the past decade clocking in as the warmest 10-year period since record-keeping started.
This is another SOS to the planet. The pace of climate change in the space of just one generation is alarming.
But the wars in Ukraine and Gaza, as well as the re-election of Donald Trump, are threatening to derail this year's agenda. And even in Azerbaijan, a repressive country with a poor human rights record, protesters are making their voices heard, linking the Israeli offensive in Gaza to what they call climate justice.
There can be no climate justice without human rights. If we can't stop the genocide in Palestine, we will not be able to stop the genocide that is coming in terms of climate violence.
The main focus this year is funding. Organizers are hoping to get rich countries to commit to more funding for the developing world to adapt to climate change. But the new Trump administration is unlikely to support that goal, leading to new fears that the world won't be able to meet the UN goal of a 42% emissions cut by 2030.
The work to contain climate change is going to continue in the United States with commitment and passion and belief.
President Trump says he will withdraw the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement when he takes office, just as he did during his first term. In London, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
Firefighters on both coasts are battling flames on Monday as gust winds fuel dozens of fires. Forecasters warn the conditions could spark more fires in California this week. Fox's William Lajeunesse has more.
Dry air and gusty winds creating a perfect storm of fire conditions. In New Jersey, crews battled the Jennings Creek fire, now more than 3,000 acres.
There's a combination of meteorological conditions as well as fuel conditions, which we would say is dry vegetation, dead leaves, dead grasses.
Light rain helped overnight, but it didn't last. Thick clouds of smoke carried into New York, prompting officials to issue a health advisory.
Yeah, there's definitely a smell of smoke.
I smell the smoke, like the burning smoke, the after effect after a fire. It's really bad.
Meanwhile, calmer weather allowed crews in Southern California to gain more control over the mountain fire in Ventura County. Since igniting last week, it scorched more than 20,000 acres and damaged or destroyed more than 220 structures. Some evacuees returned home to find nothing left.
There was a motorcycle in the garage, no sign of it anywhere. Just so many things like that just gone.
Officials say strong winds in the forecast could fuel more fires this week and urge Californians to be prepared.
You also want to have a go bag by your door, so if you have to leave in a moment's notice, that all you have to do is, as you're leaving the door, pick that up, put it in your car.
Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency in Ventura County. As of Monday morning, the fire is 36% contained. In Los Angeles, William Lajeunesse, Fox News.
All right, well, coming up, we have our full 5-day forecast.
Stay with us.
We're expecting some showers to move through our area late tonight, and then going into tomorrow, we'll have falling temperatures and maybe a chance for some snow. Will we see any? I'll have the answers coming right up.
As a child, you just couldn't keep me out of the puddles. That's where the acorn essentially was planted. As we got started, we had nothing in the bank, we were cash poor. That was just a one-man show. The support of my credit union, starting the business, the banking advice, when you can call them and they're there for you, that's tremendous. It's been a great asset for me and for my company's growth. It's really an exciting time, and my credit union made that possible.
Nothing feels as good as driving a new Hyundai. And now you can get a great deal on your favorite model at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Plus, every Hyundai is backed by America's Best Warranty. Hurry to the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event before this offer ends. Make your next getaway your best one yet. Get an all-wheel drive Santa Fe for 1.99% APR for up to 72 months, or lease for $269 a month. Hurry in.
Hey, babe, what's a 5-letter word that starts with PH and ends with NE? Clue is get 4 of these for free with 4 lines for $90 a month at US Cellular.
James, have you tried the 4 free phone flakes? I love these free phone flakes.
Hey, Dad, 4 free phones.
Each serving has 4 free phones.
4 free phones?
Thanks.
Oh.
They're right behind me, aren't they?
Choose 4 free phones and 4 lines for $90 a month. No trade-in needed. US Cellular.
Tired of your internet service constantly letting you down? Those other providers may promise the world with their flashy advertisements, but are you truly having a good customer experience? Fear not, because there's a new player in town. Introducing GoNet Speed. No more endless hold times or automated responses. We're here to listen, support, and provide you with the exceptional service you deserve. Our fast, reliable fiber internet, it's mind-blowing. Let us show you what true internet satisfaction feels like.
Talented head chefs, right?
Big egos mean big blow-ups for Gordon.
Where is the passion?
Hell's Kitchen head chefs only. All new Thursdays on Fox.
Main weather tonight is brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center. Old Town Redemption offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Take a look at those highs for today. 63 degrees was our high, so well above average temperatures for today. Our average this time of year is right around 48 degrees. We can see Bar Harbor just a tick below 70 at 59, but many areas in the southwestern portion of the state today got close to 70 degrees. We can see that in Wickiset, 67 for their high. Same here in Portland, 67 degrees for their high. It was 20 degrees cooler at the northern portion of the state for today. Clayton Lake with only 47 for their high, 49 in Presque Isle, and Holton did hit 50 degrees for their high today. Going into tonight, those warmer temperatures are going to stay by here in town, and we can see by the coast as well. We're going to see low to mid 40s here, a lot cooler up north, in those low to mid 30s is what we're expecting for their lows tonight. We do have cloud cover and some rain making its way through our area for tonight. That's the reason why we're going to see those temperatures a little bit warmer than the northern portions of the state. But as we go into tomorrow, right around 11 a.m., we are not going to see the temperatures change really much. We may see a little bit of an uptick in temperatures, getting close to maybe 44 degrees, but that's only 2 off of what our low is going to be. So it's really not going to warm up for tomorrow, and after that, temperatures are going to drop fast. We're going to see low to mid 30s going into tomorrow evening right around 6 o'clock, and then areas up north are going to be in those mid to upper 20s. So temperatures are really going to take a quick change south in temperatures. It's really going to cool off as we get into tomorrow evening. All right, our average high, as we said before, is right around 48 degrees this time of year. We're going to be a little bit below that that going throughout the next few days of this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, in those low to mid 40s. We can see those this weekend do warm up a little bit. Back into those upper 40s by Saturday, closer to average, and then getting to those 50s by Sunday, where we will have a high right around 52 degrees. All right, so here is our weather maker making its way into the area for tonight. We can see we already got a few scattered showers in the region, but most of the rain is still to the west. It'll be making its way in late tonight, right around 3:30 to 4 a.m. You can see some snow above that as well, and expect areas in the northern portion of the state to see some snow with some cooler temperatures out there. So right around 3:30 to 4 a.m. is when we're going to see that rain start to make its way in. We can see it impacting Bangor. Looks like most of the central to northern portions of the state are what are going to see some precipitation for tonight. Here is that line where the temperatures go below freezing. We see the northern portion of the state seeing some snow for tonight. As we go into tomorrow afternoon, those temperatures really cooling off, so we do have a chance to see some flurries here in town, but looks like much of that moisture is going to be leaving with all that rain, so we may not really get to see any accumulations of snow going into tomorrow. Wind speeds out there right now not doing too bad. We can see in town very calm, but as we go into tomorrow, it is going to pick up big time. We can see by Bar Harbor 45-mile-per-hour wind gusts, here in town right around 30-mile-per-hour. For tonight, we got a low of 42 degrees, which rain showers are showing up late, and into tomorrow, a high of only 44. Then temperatures are falling fast. As we take a look at our extended forecast, we can see going into Wednesday, Thursday, we'll have some sun, but low 40s, and then a rain and snow mix on Friday with a high of 43. Beth?
Chase, thank you. Looking again at headlines across the nation, crypto stocks are surging on the heels of Donald Trump's White House win. Fox Business's Lauren Simonetti has the latest.
Stocks opening Monday with a frenzy of excitement. Bitcoin soaring well over $80,000 into the afternoon, reaching fresh all-time highs following Donald Trump's White House win.
The wider crypto market also seeing outsized gains this morning.
President-elect Trump had branded himself throughout the 2024 election as a pro-crypto candidate for president. The former president promising to launch a strategic national crypto stockpile if elected to a second term.
Upon taking office, I will immediately appoint a Bitcoin and Crypto Presidential Advisory Council.
His election night victory, including Elon Musk, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Cantor Fitzgerald CEO Howard Lutnick, all three in alignment on the future of crypto.
If you look at the four possible outcomes of the election, you got the one that was the most pro-growth because you had the ability for deregulation, you had the ability for pro-growth tax policy, and oh, by the way, you have a Federal Reserve who is lowering interest rates. So you have this trifecta of things that really are, sort of the mother's milk of stocks.
The crypto industry is also keeping a close eye on who the president-elect will appoint to chair the Securities and Exchange Commission, after having promised to fire the current SEC chair on day one. In New York, Lauren Simonetti, Fox Business.
Dozens of monkeys are back in custody tonight, nearly 5 days after escaping a South Carolina research facility nearly 60 miles west of Charleston. But police say a sizable group still remains active along the compound's fence line, as authorities are now using thermal imaging cameras to locate the rest. Fox's Jeff Paul has the latest.
The search continuing in Yemassee, South Carolina Monday, 5 days after 43 primates escaped a medical research center. The monkeys, all females, are said to be the size of a cat, each weighing about 7 pounds. Over the weekend, authorities making progress in the search, capturing 25 primates plus several more Monday. Still, locals are being warned to keep an eye out but not get too close.
Do not approach them. Do not try to take one home as a pet. Call 911. Just advise them of where you are and where you see the monkey, and then we'll get someone out there.
When asked how the monkeys were able to make a break for it, the CEO of the research facility had this to say.
The caretaker was doing her normal routine. She failed to secure the doors, and the monkeys basically just bolted through the opening.
Since their escape, the monkeys have been spotted in several areas. One local land surveyor telling Fox News he was surprised to spot monkeys roaming in nearby woods.
And then I saw dozens of monkeys in a line coming out and coming down that tree and running along the ground.
Facility officials say none of its animals are infected with any diseases, and the studies they were conducting don't pose any danger to the monkeys or people. In Los Angeles, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
All right, well, stay with us. We have sports next.
Don't go away.
Central Maine Barns and Sheds, quality products built right here in Newport with a strong attention to detail. We have an incredible selection of pre-made options and would be more than happy to custom build a unit specifically for you. Central Maine Barns and Sheds has financing options available, including a rent-to-own program. We provide free delivery and setup within a 30-mile radius of any of our locations. Check out our full inventory at centralmainbarns.com or call for more information, 368-6177.
Gun Sports and Brewer knows that for fun, exercise, and meeting new friends, nothing is better than ice skating. Whether it's sailing down the ice, making a great pass, and scoring in a game of hockey, or the great strength and expression of figure skating. From the youngest child all the way to adulthood, anyone can enjoy the fun of skating. At Gun Sports, we supply the equipment for your skating fun for great prices, the proper fit, and service after the sale. Shop your locally owned Gun Sports Shop, Greenpoint Road in Brewer.
At WKIT in the 90s, things were a little different. Now we take the rock very seriously. Still clowning around decades later, 100.3 WKIT, WKIT HD, Brewer, Bangor.
The CMA Awards are coming to ABC7. As the big night approaches, test your knowledge of your favorite country music stars. Visit WVII.com, click on Contests and Giveaways, and pick the winners for a chance to win a modest local prize. And don't forget to tune in to the 58th Annual CMA Awards on November 20th on ABC7. Our local contest is brought to you by Bennett's Gems and Jewelry on Route 1 in Belfast, next to Perry's Nut House.
Tonight's Sports is brought to you by Hamlin's Marine, located in Hamden and Waterville, celebrating 40 years, serving all of eastern and central Maine.
It is even sweeter the second time around. Welcome back in, everyone. Thanks for staying with us for the second straight year. Maine women's soccer is heading to represent the Pine Tree State in the Division I NCAA tournament. The Black Bears punching their ticket Sunday evening with a 3-0 win over rival New Hampshire. Maine wins their second consecutive America East title, and they earn a trip to Wisconsin to play the 5th-seeded Badgers in the first round. That game Friday at 8 p.m. Last year, Maine made the trip to Boston in the first round of the tournament to play Harvard. They fell to the Crimson, but that experience, plus playing a Big Ten school early this fall, should pay off this weekend.
Taking last year was definitely a step in the right direction. We're a more experienced, more mature team. We kind of know the protocol, and we're going to take it like we've taken every game this season, which seems to have worked well. So
we saw Rutgers early this year as a Big Ten opponent, and I think we were really able to sort of impose our identity early in that game. But we definitely learned some stuff from that game, and also playing in the national tournament last year.
The Black Bears cap off their repeat conference tournament title after winning the first America East regular season championship in program history. Last season, it was more of an underdog story for Maine. They weren't the top seed, but this year they say they had a target on their back all year, but they spent more time chasing rather than defending that title.
We weren't really defending a title as we were chasing another one. It's a new season, new team, and so new goals as well. And some of that was also making it past the first round of the national tournament. So yeah, we're excited for this opportunity to hopefully reach that goal.
Last year we were a bit of an underdog story, but this year there was a target on our back. But we really made a big point of chasing, not defending a title. You know, we wanted to go after it just like we did last year.
Let's stay with college soccer now, and for the first time in 15 years, the Husson Eagles are heading to the NCAA Division III Women's Soccer Tournament. The Eagles defeated SUNY Delhi on Saturday afternoon 4-0 to win the North Atlantic Conference Championship game. Kate Harriman had 2 goals in the contest. They drew NYU in the first round of the NCAA. To the Big Apple they go. The Eagles already played the Violets this season in their non-conference schedule, so now they know exactly what to expect.
When we do our non-conference schedules, I seek out the best competition we can find. And we knew going into the year that having the chance to play a team like NYU would be a real test for us. But I want them to be faced with that level of competition for this exact moment, knowing that when we get to the NCAA tournament, it's not going to be easy.
We know they're strong, we know that they're good. Nothing unexpected though, so we're going to try this week to kind of cater our training towards what we could expect.
The Eagles head into the tournament on an 8-game winning streak. Husson did not allow a single goal the entire postseason, and now they say they're a much different team than they were in September when they lost to NYU, and they are ready for round 2.
The team has really found their chemistry. Our seniors and older players have really found their stride, and our younger players that have gained this full season of experience going into this tournament are ready to play at this level now.
Good luck to them. That game at 11 a.m. Saturday. To some football now. The Patriots picking up their 3rd win of the season on Sunday in Chicago. And really, it was never much of a game at all. The Patriots and 3rd overall pick Drake May dominating the Bears and 1st overall pick Caleb Williams on Sunday to a tune of a 19-3 victory. The Pats D sacking Williams a total of 9 times. New England is now just 1 win away from matching their season total from a year ago. Drake May had another solid day. He threw a touchdown in the 2nd quarter to fellow rookie Jalen Polk. And don't look now, but New England has now won 2 of their last 3 games.
It's always good to come in here after a victory. I thought the guys really answered the challenge that we had all during the week.
Phones down, notepads down real quick. Just clap it up for the defense, man. They get after you, mix up shell, mix up coverage, mix up blitz packages. It was pretty cool to watch.
A big day for that Pats defense. Staying with football now, it was another great weekend for the UMaine Black Bears. Maine coming away with a 38-26 victory over the Bryant Bulldogs. The Black Bears dominated the first half, getting off to a quick 35-0 start behind 4 touchdowns from quarterback Carter Peavy early on. With the win, the Black Bears are now 5-5 on the season. Compare that to the last 2 seasons where they won 4 games combined, and they are miles ahead of where they were last fall. With 2 games left, Maine has the chance to finish 500 or better, and head coach Jordan Stevens says that success is a result of the program trusting the process.
You know, having a process about us, having a standard of how we play, and believing in that, and having a standard in how we practice, and that process, and seeing that payoff on Saturdays with wins is certainly helpful, and much needed this year. We're so much of a operation that's 1 week at a time, but it's certainly recognizable that our players and our coaches have trusted that process.
Maine plays Elon Saturday at 2 p.m. It's their last road game of the regular season. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Comfy, cozy, relaxing. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find rockers, recliners, sofas, and easy chairs. Quality furniture, affordable prices. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
We're lucky to live in Maine. We have a wealth of natural resources, hardworking people, and time for the things that matter. Mechanical Services is all about Maine, with energy efficiency that protects our environment and helps businesses grow. Preventive maintenance and energy solutions that save money. How Maine is that? Mechanical Services. We're everywhere you are in Maine.
I was hurt in a bad motorcycle accident. I tried to handle it on my own, but I could tell quickly I was in way over my head. The other driver's insurance company was very difficult to work with. That's why I decided to call Joe. Smartest move I ever made. I went from being completely overwhelmed with doctor's appointments and medical bills to feeling normal again. Joe Bornstein's office took care of everything. I was completely satisfied with the outcome. I wish I'd called sooner.
Call Joe today for a free case evaluation. There's never a fee unless you win.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
Renovating or building new, you'll find a wide selection of high-performing, energy-efficient, and beautiful windows and doors at Hammond Lumber Company. Your Hammond sales representative will walk you through the showroom displays and help you choose options to create a personalized custom look. Free in-home measurement is available, and Hammond can deliver your order from any of their locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Bring your vision and enjoy better light and added security and energy savings with quality windows and doors from Hammond Lumber Company.
Durable, sturdy, stylish. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find solid wood, built to last, made in Maine dressers, bureaus, and nightstands. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Preheat your ovens and your brains.
All new baking mysteries are cooking up Thursdays. Don't miss an all-new Crime Scene Kitchen, Thursdays on Fox.
New competitors joined the Masked Singer while the week kicks off with back-to-back action series as well. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin with a look at what's coming up on Fox TV.
Meet Group C on The Masked Singer. Guess along with the quarterfinals of Crime Scene Kitchen. Here's what's hot on Fox.
Surprise!
Monday, TK's 30th birthday on 911 Lone Star includes a surprise visit from his stepdad and younger half-brother. Emergencies for the 126 include a dangerous surgery in the field after a man is impaled in a tree.
Get out now.
On Rescue High Surf, it's a race to save missing paragliders who plummeted into the ocean. Plus, Sonny secretly puts in his notice to retire, recommending M as his replacement.
I have vital information about Shane Sloan.
Tuesday, Paula Patton guest stars on Murder in a Small Town. The drama picks up with a murderer on the loose and the suspect's psychiatrist reaching out to Detective Alberg for help.
Nothing can stop you as long as you know why you're here.
Emmy winner Michael Chiklis and Sherry Soms star in Accused, with an episode about a wrestling coach on trial after pushing his star athlete too far.
If I'm right, I'm gonna go crazy.
Wednesday, the music of The Masked Singer is center stage and Group C make their intro. Then test your flowers, state capitals, and kids shows knowledge on the floor.
Hannah, you're burnt over there.
I want it burnt. Thursday, teamwork is put to the test in a secret ingredient challenge on Hell's Kitchen.
Smells good here. What are you guys doing?
That's followed by the quarterfinals on Crime Scene Kitchen, with guest judge James Beard Award-winning pastry chef and Cronut creator Dominique Ansel.
How'd your date with Jen go?
Solid.
Friday is an encore of Rescue High Surf. And then Fox Sports presents Fox College Football Friday, UCLA at Washington to kick off the weekend.
My goodness!
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
The Loaves and Fishes Food Pantry in Ellsworth is looking for some extra help ahead of the holiday season. The mostly volunteer-driven organization says they need help with everything from picking up donations from grocery stores to greeting clients as they walk through the door.
You will come in and you'll be partnered up with a buddy and they'll show you what to do. I will say this, I started as the volunteer truck driver, driving the pantry truck to pick stuff up, but it's a really fun group. Like we all come to this work from different points of view in different places in life, but we're a really nice batch of volunteers.
According to Board of Trustees member Max Desecchi, the pantry serves over 5,000 people throughout all of Hancock County, and the holiday season is always busy. To learn more or to volunteer, head to loavesandfishesellsworth.org.
All right, well, that is going to do it for us, folks. From everyone here at Fox 22 News, we hope you have a great rest of your night.
We'll see you later.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC7, right now for ABC7 News at 11.
Introducing a brand new kitchen appliance that does all the work for you.
Stopped. So they had to do some fast negotiating to get the rest of us in. But that's just a bit of humor in the way we had to deal with the Russians. They were very suspicious. After we got finished at Potsdam, I got assigned to the 2nd Armored immediately from my job there and ended up finishing my service in the 2nd Armored Division. I came home from Europe 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving. But those of us that were getting out at that time were put in the Army Inactive Reserve. So I didn't get discharged until after Korea. Supporting the cause was the thing to do.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.